The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericahealth.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the following program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio Network, its staff, and management.
Welcome to Falling Through the Cracks. Feel alive and thrive with Dr. Rebecca Risk. Do you ever feel that even though nothing seems seriously wrong and you pass all the medical tests, that you still feel that your health, pain, and fatigue are completely out of control? It doesn't have to be that way. Listen to the tips and suggestions given on our program today and take back control of your health. Now, here is Dr. Rebecca Risk.
Hi everybody, welcome to the show. Today I'm Dr. Rebecca Risk, and today we're going to be talking with Leo Cashman about dental work. We often don't think about our teeth aside from, we have a sore tooth and we get something, we go to the dentist and get it dealt with, but we don't think of the after effects of that work that we have done. And the dental work can be very detrimental to our health, and it's one of the last things that people think about, and one of the most expensive things, so very hard to fix if it is an issue. Leo Cashman has served as the executive director of the Dental Amalgam Mercury Solution, or DAMS, since the year 2000. DAMS is a nonprofit organization that works to educate the public on dental mercury and other ways that dentistry may affect health. DAMS is a recognized leader in the area of public education. Over the past 18 years, Leo Cashman has been attending conferences of the major academics for holistic dentistry, enabling him to learn from many of the top dentists, doctors, and scientists on the dental health connection. Leo Cashman also has a degree in physics and a master's degree in mathematics. So Leo, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So can you just tell us a little bit about DAMS and what it does?
Well, you gave a pretty good introduction there, and we serve mostly people in the U.S. and Canada, and try to help people understand the dental health connection, and so they can make better choices as dental patients, and be more discriminating about who they go to for their dentistry, what they may have done, what are the pitfalls in terms of dental material choices, what are the better choices, what are some of the procedures, like the root canal treatment that may lead to problems. And so we just try to make that patient, help that patient be more sophisticated about all these important issues. And we have this saying that the mouth is connected to the rest of the body, and so what goes on in the mouth, what's done in the mouth, can affect overall health and affect it profoundly for better or for worse. And so that's what we do. We are a nonprofit, and so we help all people, regardless of their financial circumstances. We just give information out, and we don't tell people where to go or what to do precisely, but try to give them good information. And I have to say, this is an area where there's really a lot of misinformation, and you might even say some cover-ups going on. And so we jump into the controversies here in dentistry and health and try to really give people the actual truth, rather than conventional wisdom, which may too often be incorrect.
So how did you get involved in doing this? Since your history is a little bit different than dentistry. What brought you into this?
Well, a long evolution, but really the thing that jolted me was way back in 1985, where I had an amalgam filling after being assured by a dentist that they are just fine, they don't cause problems, even though there's some mercury there. And lo and behold, I did have some health problems following that. And when I finally realized the connection, I had it removed by the same dentist. It wasn't done safely with a lot of precautions, which is a mistake that a lot of people make when they don't know much. And then I suffered some more adverse health effects, and I had some digestive issues, and I didn't feel as good as I should have. And so I sort of wandered in the wilderness for a couple of years trying to recover from what had happened, and I did get better. But it led to me, years later, becoming very interested in this movement of alerting people to the dental mercury problem and how harmful the mercury can be. And the amalgam filling is half mercury, as I hope everyone knows. People don't always know that. They call them silver fillings. So anyway, the dental mercury issue was a huge issue for me, and I got into, you might say, the movement for health-conscious dentistry, and went on from there, and eventually, well, I was, in the 1990s, I was a health and environmental writer, and I started writing about it, and then as a journalist, I got invited to be one of the DAM's people at a conference. And so I thought, well, okay, there's just this time I'll go to this one conference, and that's it, but I traveled. I went to a conference in Toronto, Canada, and it really got me more involved, actually, in DAMs. And then in year 2000, they needed a new director, and I offered to be their new manager, director, and so that's what happened, and I have been working full-time for the last 15 years, educating the public and helping lead this wonderful organization called DAMS.
I think it's great that you guys are set up to help people, because there isn't a lot of awareness about what dentistry has done to people. You did mention that the amalgam fillings are 50% mercury, which I do think a lot of people don't know, because I always ask people when they come to my office how many fillings they have, and they don't even know how many they have, and I have to check for them, and then they think that they're okay, and they're like, no, there's silver, just like you had mentioned. So I think it is a common misconception about what those are, and I think there's a lot of denial about how dangerous they are as well. Can you touch on that a little bit?
How dangerous are amalgam fillings? They're a major source of mercury exposure for anyone who has them. Anyone. If you have amalgams, you're getting more mercury than is good for you. And I don't care if you know it or you don't know it or you don't think you have health problems. It is a mercury exposure, and that mercury is not good for anybody. And creates maybe some, as early symptoms, just some common things like fatigue, a little more difficulty concentrating and thinking and remembering, things that are so common people don't really connect it probably to their dental fillings. And then you may have some low thyroid or other endocrine problems. You may have some digestive problems, and it affects the heart and the cardiovascular system. Mercury really affects just about all systems of the body, and so they're common symptoms in the early going, and in the more advanced stages, they can be big-name diseases like Parkinson's, ALS, MS, lupus, all these autoimmune disorders, rheumatoid arthritis. It just goes on and on. All the things that this mercury exposure can play into, and cancer, all the really major causes of disability and death. So it may sound like I'm exaggerating, but there is a lot of science that backs this up, and then you can get into things like infertility, birth defects, and plays a role in autism and other developmental disorders, ADHD, the whole gamut of illnesses that our society faces. And yes, there are plenty of other toxic insults, notably I would say vaccines, also some of the dangerous food additives like MSG and aspartame. So there are lots of toxic insults, but we have to warn people about dental amalgam. And a lot of people don't know that the word amalgam means that that material is a mixture of mercury with other metals. So, or they call them silver fillings. And yes, there's silver in them, but there is more mercury than there is silver, and the mercury exposure is extremely hazardous to your health.
So you did mention that it can cause birth defects. Or having the fillings dangerous during pregnancy?
Well, yes, for sure.
And can that get passed on to the child and affect them as well?
Yes, the mercury will pass through the placental barrier and go to the unborn fetus. And so it's, there is the most vulnerable part of our population, the unborn fetus. In the very beginning stages of human development, and they're getting a mercury exposure. And we tell women that it is not such a good idea usually to have your amalgams replaced during pregnancy, because it's just such a vulnerable time for the fetus, and it's better to do it before you become pregnant and actually give yourself maybe 7 months to detoxify and then become pregnant, or wait till you're no longer pregnant and probably no longer nursing. Nursing is a great thing, but following breastfeeding and nursing, then get your amalgams out. So it's just something to plan around, and of course, ideally, amalgams should be banned internationally, and they have been banned in 3 European countries, Norway, Denmark, and Sweden, and there are curbs in Germany and a few other countries. And interestingly, here in the United States, the FDA, which regulates amalgams, that has been sort of playing along with the cover-up, they tried to promote a plan and advance a plan to curb amalgams for these vulnerable parts of the population, including young children and pregnant women. And a bizarre thing happened, that their plan was vetoed by somebody higher up in the Department of Health and Human Services, somebody outside of the FDA. We don't know the name of who that was, but so then the FDA just had to bury their better rule and regulation on amalgam fillings and forget it and just keep on with their complete cover-up of the whole issue. So unfortunately, our governments in the U.S. and Canada and many other countries have been part of the problem, perpetuating the cover-up. And even though there are some good people in these agencies probably who would like to change that, often politics overrules what the scientists want to do in terms of these regulations. So it gets to be very, very political, and we can talk more about that if you want.
Yeah, I think we do have to take a quick break, but when we come back, we can talk more about the history of the amalgams and what's going on, and then what to do if you do have them, which I think a lot of people are probably now thinking, they've got a mouthful, what do they do next? So we're going to talk about that after the break. If you're listening and you have any questions for Leo or for me, we are recording live, so you can call in or send an email to anantacalgary@gmail.com or message us on Facebook or Twitter, and we'd be happy to get your questions. We're going to be back shortly with Leo Cashman from DAMS.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
Ouch! What do you think of when you think of dental procedures? Well, when you think about it, the teeth and the rest of the body are strongly connected. What happens in one part affects the other. In the Tooth Body Connection with host Dr. Dawn Ewing, we'll explain more about these concepts, as well as discuss the role that your teeth play in your overall health. You'll learn about amalgams and how removing them the wrong way can be toxic to your body. Tune in Fridays at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on Voice America Health and Wellness.
The largest syndicated alternative health talk program has come to the Voice America Network. The Dr. Bob Martin Show is the program that will answer your health questions and help you to heal your own body of many different ailments. Each week, you'll hear the answers that Dr. Bob gives to his callers that help them to be their own doctor most of the time. We'll also discuss developments on the healthcare front and what you need to do to keep your body in top form. The Dr. Bob Martin Show airs Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific on Voice America Health and Wellness.
Your life, your health, your network. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Falling Through the Cracks with your host, Dr. Rebecca Risk. To reach the program today, please call in to 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email directly to Dr. Risk. The email address is anantacalgary@gmail.com. Now, back to Falling Through the Cracks. Feel alive and thrive.
Hi everybody, this is Dr. Rebecca Risk, and I'm here with Leo Cashman today from the Dental Amalgam Mercury Solutions, or DAMS. We're talking about your dental work, and we're just ended the break with talking about amalgams. And so Leo, what can people do if they do have these amalgams, or what's called silver fillings in their mouth? I'm sure a lot of people are now getting a little worried about the mercury.
Well, I encourage people to learn about the issue and not rush too quickly to get them removed, in that first of all, it's necessary to go to a holistic or biological dentist who takes these issues very seriously and uses elaborate protections to replace the amalgam fillings. And removing amalgam fillings is potentially dangerous to the patient, but it can be done safely if elaborate protections are used. And we have a list of biological or holistic dentists in every province and every state of the United States, and some other places too, and we help people find those dentists. We help people understand what to do to prepare for their safe amalgam removal. We have short articles on that. We can email them. We can include them in the information packet that we like to mail them. And so there are things like vitamins and minerals that you're probably depleted in because of the effects of mercury. And so, of course, you can supplement with those vitamins and minerals. You can improve your liver and kidney function, if that might be necessary. There are foods that help and foods to avoid. So there are all sorts of tips like that we offer, and then we just we keep going on from there and help people understand some of the other ways dentistry may affect health. There are toxic crowns. There are toxic infected root canal teeth, and they very often are troublemakers too, and other issues to learn about. And we also discuss detox, which is mainly for the period following amalgam removal and removal of other problem dental work. And so we want people to realize that there is a need for detoxification over a fairly long period of time, and it should look more like a year rather than a week or a month for the heavy metal detox. So we just want people to see this larger picture, and also I should mention dental material choices and the information packet that we have. We have a guide that discusses better choices and how do you decide what is suitable for you based on your individual immune system, and because we're not all the same, and so there's this whole subject of biocompatibility testing to see what dental materials might be most suitable for you.
How is that testing done?
Well, there are several approaches to it, and probably the most common tests are blood serum tests. So there's a blood draw, and it's sent to one of the labs in Colorado Springs, Colorado, that does this testing, and they print out a report and send it back to the dentist, and so that could be a basis for choosing. And then also sometimes energetic testing is done, and so they use things like electrodermal screening or possibly applied kinesiology, or what's called muscle testing, to see what your body says is compatible.
That seems important to point out that everybody is different, because you could get people that work well with one and one not with, doesn't work with someone else, and we are all different. Right. So I think it is important to point out that this is your journey, not the person next to you, and to find somebody that can help you make that more personalized, like with anything else that has to do with your body and your health. So right. Is there anything that you recommend? I mean, chelation is something that people talk about after they have their fillings removed. So what do you recommend for that?
Well, people use the word chelation, and, that's strictly speaking a more technical word, and certain things are chelators because they grab the mercury atom or other toxic atom and hang on to it and take it out of the body. I like to say that the subject is really detoxification, and to me that's a much broader word, and it means getting the toxic things out of your organs, out of your brain, and so there are more and more choices today than there were years ago, and certainly many more than there were in the 1990s. And in the 1990s, we just had a few chelation drugs that were used a great deal, like DMPS and DMSA. I think that we've moved on from that. We don't need to use those drugs. They are not very good chelators. Some scientists are telling us they're not chelators of mercury at all, and we don't use EDTA, which is definitely not a good chelator of mercury. And so we've moved on, and there are non-drug choices today that are quite good, and more gentle and more safe. And I would say Quicksilver Scientific is a company that has developed some of these non-drug alternatives, and they have some very good products like IMD, which is intestinal metal detoxification, and it helps improve the intestinal detox process. So we really we don't endorse any particular product, but we discuss options with people, and we do encourage them to keep it safe and gentle and natural, and consider the newer things that have become available in the last 5 or 6 years. And so even vitamin C can help us handle toxic exposures. The Quicksilver thinking is really to work with the body's natural detoxification system, which centers around glutathione and the enzymes that make glutathione work. And glutathione is a tripeptide molecule that's natural in the human body, and it has sulfur in it, and the sulfur in it likes to bind up mercury and hang on to it, and the glutathione escorts the mercury out of the body, and there's a whole system of keeping that glutathione system working, and that's what the Quicksilver products tend to promote. So we need lots of glutathione. One of the problems with mercury is that it tends to deplete glutathione. So your body tends to use up its stores of glutathione, and then it's in trouble in terms of handling any toxic things that comes along, and actually handling things like the flu virus or other viruses too. The glutathione is part of our immune system. It's part of our defense against toxins and against infections, and we need help in boosting it and making sure that that system is working well. And that's really what products do that have come along in recent years. Rather than replacing our body system with an unnatural drug agent like DMPS or DMSA, which can have very significant side effects. I know they've helped some people, but they have also had some significant adverse impacts on some people. So we like to encourage people to keep it safe and natural in their detox, and of course we have more details on all this in our literature and on our website.
So you did mention that there was a timeline to look at for metals, and I think that's one thing that a lot of people miss because everybody's in a hurry. We want that quick Band-Aid, but you said it's not a week, it's not a month. It can go on for a while. Is that something that's very common, that this takes a long time?
Yeah, it does, and the reason it's a long time is mercury is a very bad poison. And, there are a lot of bad poisons out there: lead, arsenic, cadmium. Some of those other ones are used in dentistry, like cadmium and nickel. But mercury is particularly hard, the hardest one, I think, to get out of the brain. And it goes right into the mitochondria, which are inside of the cells, and it's 1,000 times more concentrated in the mitochondria than it is in the blood. So it goes to the energy production factories that are inside the cell, the mitochondria, and really messes up a lot of things there. So we need to work at the detoxification over a long period of time and do everything right. The lifestyle is important. We will detoxify better if we avoid microwaving ourselves, for example, and that means not just avoiding standing around a microwave oven, but also trying to minimize the cell phone use, the Wi-Fi, the cordless phone use, because those things are sources of microwaves, and there is published science that indicates that we do not detoxify mercury or other toxic metals very well if we are being microwaved on an ongoing basis. We have to develop awareness of how and where we're being microwaved and avoid that for the sake of our detox and for the sake of our overall health.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We did a show a couple of weeks ago about EMF toxicity. So if anybody wants to know more about that, they can listen to that show. So you did mention that root canals are an issue as well. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Sometimes people don't know when they're asked. They don't know if they've really had a root canal tooth. Often they're covered by a crown because they are weak teeth and the crown helps hold them together. They're not healthy teeth. But what is a root canal treatment? And the idea is there is an attempt to keep the tooth there in the mouth even though it has died. Even though it is the tooth you, in a way, want to get rid of, you don't want to use it anymore, it's dead perhaps or dying, and then the dentist says, you need a root canal. And he means a root canal treatment of that tooth, and they should never say that because you have really what I think is a better choice, and that is proper extraction of that tooth. That is the safe, conservative choice from a health and dental point of view, not root canaling it. When they root canal the tooth, they make a tunnel to the inside of the tooth and get inside the soft pulp chamber part of it, and they clean it all out, all the soft tissue, all the nerves, blood vessels, or try to clean it all out, and then inside every root there's a soft part too, and those are called the root canals, and so they try to remove all the soft inside part, sterilize it to kill off the infection, and then they stuff material in there to fill it to try to keep infection out, and then they seal the tooth up and hope that you will live happily ever after. But the problem is, it's a dead tooth. It is not being protected by white blood cells because there's no blood flow going in there, and so it is a setup for infection, and it is a low oxygen environment because there are no red blood cells going in there to bring in oxygen. So you have a setup there for very toxic infections such as anaerobic bacteria and fungal organisms. And they can become very, very toxic for the tooth. They're pooping in there. They are excreting their waste, and that builds up. And there's nothing to cleanse that tooth very well, because remember, there's no blood flow, and so the usual processes of cleansing and excretion are not working in that dead tooth, and they can become very, very toxic. And then the toxins can seep out of there and get into other parts of the body and cause nasty things like cancer and autoimmune disorders and neurological disorders and on and on. a lot of the same lists that we had for dental mercury. So they are big troublemakers, and they also can send their infections and their toxins into the jawbone around the tooth and start killing the jawbone. And so the immediate thing that so often happens is there's an abscess around the roots of the teeth, meaning a rotting area. The bone is rotting next to the roots, and then the patient goes to the dentist complaining, and the dentist says, "Oh shucks, I guess that root canal failed, and we're going to have to extract the tooth and clean out the abscess." And and what we say is, well, no surprise. You left a dead tooth there, and of course, eventually the problems came to light, and it failed, and of course you have to clean out the mess that root canal tooth caused and try to get all the bad jawbone disease out of there. And sometimes there's hidden jawbone disease, not obvious right next to the tooth, and that's what we talk about when we discuss jawbone cavitations.
So, Leo, I'm just going to interrupt you. We have to take a break, but I want to talk more about the cavitations and what to do with the root canal when there is issues with the tooth. We're going to be back shortly with Leo Cashman from DAMS talking about your teeth and your health. If you have any questions, you can email us. We are recording live, so you're welcome to call in, or you can message us on Twitter or Facebook, and we'd be happy to hear from you. We'll be back after this short break.
Opinions, options, answers. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
We are bombarded daily with information about beauty products and anti-aging treatments. Do you know how they have been tested? Are they truly going to make a change, or just take the change out of your pocket? Tune in to Shelley's Show and Tell with host Shelley Hancock. We'll bring you the top-rated skincare products and treatments tested by Real Transformation Skincare Centers. We'll motivate you to make the best changes. Listen Mondays at 1 p.m. Pacific Time, 4 p.m. Eastern on Voice America Health and Wellness.
In the spirit of Have Couch Will Travel, Dr. Carol Lieberman creates a haven of sanity in an increasingly insane world. Each day we are bombarded with news of events that have never crossed our wildest nightmares. Society is spiraling out of control, and everyone is reeling from it. But now there's an answer. The best way to keep sane in this insane world is to tune in to Dr. Carol's Couch on Voice America. Dr. Carol, a certified media psychiatrist, will broadcast live from her Beverly Hills office every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Call or log in and get help with whatever is sending you reeling, whenever you need a soothing voice to calm and advise you. That's Dr. Carol's Couch every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Pacific Time here on America's Voice, voiceamerica.com.
Opinions, options, answers. You're listening to Voice America Health and Wellness.
You are listening to Falling Through the Cracks with your host, Dr. Rebecca Risk. To reach the program today, please call in to 1-866-472-5792. Again, that's 1-866-472-5792. You may also send an email directly to Dr. Risk. The email address is anantacalgary@gmail.com. Now, back to Falling Through the Cracks. Feel alive and thrive.
Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Rebecca Risk. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Leo Cashman from the Dental Amalgam Mercury Solutions, or DAMS. Leo, before the break we were talking about problems with root canals, and then you mentioned cavitations. Can you just tell us a little bit about what that is?
Yes. And really an abscess and a cavitation are fairly similar. The difference, I would say, is more the location of the jawbone disease problem, and when the rotting of the bone shows up right next to the tooth, we just say that's a tooth abscess. It's an abscess. But sometimes they're farther away and from the tooth. They may be hard to notice on a normal two-dimensional X-ray, but these dead areas of jawbone can be somewhat away from the tooth. Maybe there's a little bit of good bone, and then you go a little farther away from the teeth, and there's bad bone. And it can spread. It sounds like cancer. It isn't usually cancerous, but it can spread slowly or sometimes quickly. They become toxic dumping grounds for the body. The body puts its toxins away in dead areas, and so if this is a dead area, although it's infected, it's also a toxic dumping ground for things like mercury, palladium, which is used in crowns and is a very toxic metal, and other toxic metals that are used in dentistry or other exposures. And so, why is this so important? When you have major jawbone disease like this, jawbone cavitations, they can cause chronic health issues. They can cause cancer, autoimmune disorders like rheumatoid arthritis, and neurological disorders like Parkinson's, ALS, and dementia, and MS. All the major chronic illnesses that we don't want can be caused by this jawbone disease. And I should add heart disease, too. The reason it's overlooked is this is not taught in medical school. It is not well taught in dental school. I would have to say again that there's a cover-up going on, just as there's a root canal cover-up, a dental mercury cover-up, fluoride cover-up, and so on. And insurance companies, I would say, don't want to pay their claims for all the diagnosis and treatment of jawbone disease that should be going on. So in recent years, there's been excellent research done by a team of researchers in Germany led by Dr. Johann Lechner, and he has identified an inflammatory cellular messenger called RANTES, and in all the tissue samples of this jawbone disease, jawbone cavitations that he has sampled, all of them, and RANTES is a significant finding because that has been linked by research over the last decade to cancer, the metastasis of cancer, autoimmune disorders like rheumatoid arthritis, and neurological disorders. RANTES is a bad actor, and when you find it in tissue samples, that means it's a danger to our overall health. Now, this should be front-page news in every newspaper in our countries, and we have to wonder why isn't it? This is the kind of vitally important information that DAMS is putting out in its publications and making available to the world, and people very much appreciate getting this information. Now, one of the problems is who is equipped to diagnose and treat this jawbone disease that's lurking and maybe away from our teeth, somewhere in the jawbone. And right now, I would say the best tool that some of the dentists have is the cone beam, which is an X-ray device that gives us a three-dimensional picture of what's going on in the jawbone, both the teeth and the bone. And it's a dental adaptation of the CAT scan that's used in medicine. These are expensive machines. They give us a better picture than even the Panorex, which is just a two-dimensional scan of the whole mouth. And so we need these better tools, and we need dentists who are experienced in treating it. Some dentists are using ozone injections to try to kill off smaller areas of jawbone disease. And then, of course, you have surgery. And there are some dentists here and there, not very many, who are ready to go with surgical interventions, cleaning out the jawbone diseased areas thoroughly. And once you have left only healthy bone, then that healthy bone can regenerate and grow and fill in where the holes are. So even though you're not a kid anymore, you're an adult, maybe a somewhat older adult, you can grow a lot of new bone if you have reasonably good hormonal function for generating new bone. So this is just sort of a short introduction to a very important topic, and we urge people to call us or email us for suggestions on who in their area in the U.S. or in Canada might be knowledgeable in cleaning out and detecting and cleaning out jawbone disease or treating it in some way.
So I find this fascinating. So it's something, my history is with Lyme disease, and cavitations are often a contributing factor to that. And it's very hard to get somebody to even, take that seriously. When I had my x-ray done for it at a different dental office, and then I sent it to a specialist, I was given a hard time at that office because I was trying to screen for cavitations. And I think that it's not looked at a lot, and it just even be the cause of your neck pain or your shoulder pain, which I've seen that change for people after they get their cavitation surgery done. So it's an important thing to bring forward and have people start recognizing, because I think it's very common. We've all had even just wisdom teeth being removed can cause those cavitations.
Well, the pain isn't always there when there's a cavitation, but sometimes it is, and it occurs when the disease engulfs a major nerve in the jawbone and starts eating away at the myelin sheath around the nerve, and then when enough of that is gone, you get pain, and it can be in the face, it can be in the neck, as you say, the shoulders, and people don't know what's causing it or what to do about it. But there are the skilled holistic dentists who specialize in this can determine where the pain is coming from, and then they can consider their surgical interventions if necessary. So I think that's what Dr. Lechner does in Germany. He has an ultrasonic device called a Cavitat, that is hard to come by, hard to find, but he uses that, and he does do surgical interventions. And the good news is that very often the patients recover from chronic illnesses. They can recover from rheumatoid arthritis and MS and heart disease and so on dramatically sometimes with cleaning out the jawbone disease. So it can be a crucial turning point in allowing that patient's recovery.
We did have a question about what are the safe materials to use to avoid toxicity for bridges and crowns. I know you mentioned people can do a blood test, but is there something that somebody can't afford that? Because in Canada that would be a little more difficult to do. Is there something that is a little on the safer side than what there is normally out there?
Well, yes, and in general I would say the bridges and crowns should be all ceramic or all composite, and those are categories of materials. The composites are used, of course, in the fillings usually, but you can make crowns and bridges out of that, and there are a few commonly used materials. In the ceramics are, a ceramic is a mix of materials, metal, or mix of minerals that's baked in an oven, and you get a smooth, glassy material. I think a product called Emax, which is mainly lithium disilicate, is a pretty safe ceramic material, and that's probably used more than any other ceramic product for crowns and small bridges. And some of the dentists use zirconia-based ceramics, so the main ingredient is zirconia, which is the oxide of the metal zirconium, and that's very strong ceramic, and so that's an option. And because it's so strong, some zirconia is usually found in the larger bridge work, as the longer bridges need that extra strength, and so they put zirconia mixed into the Emax if they want to use the Emax type of ceramic for a larger bridge. So these are big topics. You also get into the question, what cement is safe and is desirable for cementing the bridge or the crown onto the prepared teeth. So people who have those questions, I would urge them to get our information guide, which goes into more detail on all of these issues. What we don't want people to use for a crown is a PFM crown, which means porcelain fused to metal. That metal base under the porcelain is made out of stainless steel, and that means a lot of nickel. And nickel is a toxic metal. It really should be avoided. And so all these metallic crowns, the children sometimes get a solid stainless steel crown, lots of nickel for the poor little children, and that is not good for them. And,
so, Leo, I'm going to have to interrupt you. We have to end the show. I think we could probably do a show on each of these topics to talk about all the options. And I think the biggest thing is that we need to do more research for ourselves so that we have that control. And I think people need to know to find the right dentist that understands all of this and not just trust anybody, so that their health is in control and they know what's going into their body. Now, is there a way that people can get a hold of you if they need to or they have any further questions?
Yes, our phone number is 651-644-4572, and so you can call from anywhere in Canada or the United States, 651-644-4572. And the email address is DAMS, as in Dental Amalgam Mercury Solutions. That's what it's an acronym for. DAMS at usfamily.net.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us today, Leo. If anybody has any further questions about this show, you can email me at anantacalgary@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in, Leo. This was a great show. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And everybody, thanks for listening, and make today a great day.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Falling Through the Cracks. Feel alive and thrive. Please join Dr. Rebecca Risk again next Monday at noon Eastern Time and 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Health and Wellness channel. We'll talk more next week.
Thanks again for listening to the preceding program, brought to you on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. For more information about our network and to check out additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericahealth.com. The Voice America Talk Radio Network is the worldwide leader in live Internet talk radio. Visit voiceamerica.com. The views and ideas expressed on the preceding program are strictly those of the host or guests and do not necessarily reflect the views and ideas held by the Voice America Talk Radio